Hello and a very warm welcome. The most bizarre story from the world of tennis has finally come to an end, or has it? Well, Novak Djokovic has been deported from Australia. He has reached Dubai after he lost his visa battle in the Australian courts. So his quest for the 21st Grand Slam title continues. But what does the future hold for Novak Djokovic? What does the future hold for his legacy? What do you make of that? What is the question about what it means now for the Australian Open itself? Lots to talk about here. I have with me former Davis Cupper Vishal Uppal, who joins me. My colleague also Amit Kamath, who joins me here on the special. Vishal, let me get straight to you now. The drama seems to have ended, at least for now. But this is the beginning of a new season, 2022. And given how it's already started for Novak Djokovic, and the fact that we find ourselves in this another wave of COVID pandemic, things are not going to be easier for him if he continues to have the same stance on vaccination.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, not a very good start for Novak in the 2022 season. And, quite honestly, the ball's really in his court. And also, we have to wait and watch how the world leaders and how different countries react to this. Are they going to give a consistent COVID vaccination policy to everyone, or are they going to keep making these so-called medical exemptions and creating more chaos? I think the rules have to be uniform for everyone. There has to be a standard which every country must follow now. The ATP must follow, the International Tennis Federation must follow, and I think you're right. This drama is only going to last a little longer, and let's see what happens come French Open time. If there are any changes that are made by then.
That's right. And the news that we are getting, and Amit can elaborate on this, right now, is that French government is very clear on their policy of having all the athletes who participate in any tournaments in France to be doubly vaccinated. Amit, isn't that so?
Yeah, that's right. So just yesterday, the French Parliament basically signed into law a bill that said that anybody who comes to France, anybody who's living in France, they cannot go to any public areas. They can't go to particularly sports arenas without them showing a certificate that says that they are doubly vaccinated. In line with that, today, French agency France Presse is reporting that all athletes who are to compete at the French Open will have to be vaccinated against COVID. So what that means for Novak Djokovic is pretty clear.
That's right. In fact, the French president Emmanuel Macron had recently said that he wanted to make life really difficult. Of course, these weren't the words that he had used, but he said that he wanted to make life really difficult for people who didn't want to get vaccinated. So you can imagine what the French government's stance would be. But let's also take a look, before I come back to you, gentlemen, is to what is to be expected now. Generally, throughout his career, we've seen in the past, Djokovic has taken a few weeks off Australian Open and then has gone to the US in March for the ATP Masters tournament, the Indian Wells in Miami. If he wants to do that, then what does that mean for him? Because US is very strict about their policy. The US Department of State is very clear about foreign national air travelers to the United States are to be fully vaccinated. They are to provide proof of vaccination, and limited exceptions will include people with documented medical contraindications to receiving a COVID-19 vaccine. US is not going to go easy on him. We've already spoken about, what France is doing, Vishal. I don't know at what point will he just sort of realize that if he wants to participate, he needs to be vaccinated. There is no way around it.
Yes, that's true. I mean, I don't think there should be a way around it for him. But what we've seen unfold at the Australian Open now with, so many different reports coming out, whether he got COVID on December 16th, and then he was out and about on, December 17th and meeting people. There's too many questions which have arisen now. Was Was what did he really get COVID on December 15th? Was what's the truth about that? So we don't know what's going to happen now. That there's going to be a lot of aspersions which are going to be cast on Novak Djokovic and how he deals with things from now on. Who's to say tomorrow they don't falsify a vaccination certificate? I mean, assuming that there was some harakiri done with the COVID positive test on December 16th. So I think there's a lot of how should I say, distrust now in Novak Djokovic and how he's going to deal with this whole vaccination situation.
It almost seemed to me, Amit, that before he went in, it seemed to me like he had not taken this seriously enough, that he just thought that he would waltz into Australia and be allowed to participate. And I think, obviously, the fact that Australians themselves have been, facing these strict COVID restrictions, they haven't been able to sometimes meet their dying relatives, or unwell relatives or siblings, parents, etc., and have really had to struggle with that. In these times, then to let a Novak Djokovic walk in without vaccination and participate in a tournament in the country, obviously didn't sit right with the people, but there was support for him. I think the support also changed after the whole report came out of how he was, attending interviews and photo shoots, etc., despite knowing that he was not just COVID positive, but that he could infect others.
That's right. So what happened in the Djokovic case is that he obviously thought that he already had an exemption from the Australian Open organizers and the Victoria government itself. But then the problem arose when, so the day he got he got a reprieve from from Judge Kelly. That was the day Australia also crossed a significant milestone in their COVID fight. They reported their 1 millionth COVID positive case, and pretty damningly throughout the country, that the last 5 lakh cases that they had came in just that 1 week before Novak Djokovic was given a reprieve. So the Australian government kind of was backed into a corner. They didn't have an option but to make an example out of him, because they remember they also have they have an election coming up in May, before May this year. So they needed to do something. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also understand that, why critics are calling him arrogant at this point. And it's ironic, Vishal, because I mean, he really wants people to like him. He goes out of his way. And yet there are these instances, and it's happened in the past as well, be it what happened at the US Open, with that outburst. So there are these moments where, he sort of just tries hard, but it just doesn't work out in his favor. And this is, again, a similar case. Runs charities, has built schools, goes into juniors' dressing room to tell him how well he's played, like he did with Denis Shapovalov during Wimbledon, I remember. And he was all praises for the great, saying that, he didn't need to come into my dressing room and tell me that I played well and that things are going to be difficult right now, but things are going to get better. So he tries to do all these things. But in terms of his legacy, now, how much has that been tarnished by this?
Well, I think he's a true champion on a tennis court. Is he a great champion off the tennis court? I definitely have my doubts now. Of course, his reputation is massively tarnished by the events that have unfolded, over the last couple of weeks, and that's why Muhammad Ali was always considered the most loved and the truest champion of all times, because he stood for something bigger than just his sport of boxing. The humanitarian work he did, which was genuine. People genuinely saw what he was doing. And, after this entire episode of, the last 2 weeks and, the irresponsible nature in which if he's tested positive on 15th December and he's going out and about on 16th, 17th December, that's what makes people kind of question the genuineness of the work he's doing at times. Of course, he's doing a lot of good work. He's very nice to the tennis players, to the juniors. All that stuff is great. But as a champion, as a global icon, there has to be more responsibility that he has to take. It's not just his performance on the tennis court that matters anymore. Even his performance off the tennis court matters. What he says, because he has such a big fan following all over the world, that if he's not going to, send out the right messaging for a greater humanitarian cause, people are always going to think that it's an act he's trying to put on. You don't see people questioning Federer or Nadal or the genuineness with which the charity work they're doing in, or how much they're well liked the entire world over. So I think Djokovic has definitely done a lot to tarnish his image over the last couple of weeks.
That's right. And it's ironic because this is what he said before the US Open. I'd love to leave the legacy, first of all, that is me being a good human being, someone that people respect as a person, that has good character. And of course, then after that, a tennis player. So for me, those things are more important than results. And I think at this point, yes.
Yeah, sorry, just want to add one more thing. It's things like quite not too far back when in a press conference, Novak Djokovic was lecturing Naomi Osaka on how rules must be same for everyone. And in this case, I mean, if you're going to preach something, you be the first one to practice it. If you're not going to practice it yourself, please don't preach to the others how rules have to be same for everyone. I mean, on one hand, you want to say rules have to be same for everyone. On the other hand, we have no clue on what basis he got this medical exemption. Why should he get a medical exemption when a fit human being who has not been vaccinated can't get one? So, there's a lot of this stuff, and you got to walk the talk. You can't just keep talking and not walk it. So I think he's done a lot of damage to his reputation.
Also, how the whole world is involved in this, isn't that, Swami? This is not about just a sport. This is not just about a player being targeted. This is a collective judgment, really, because what he does impacts others, anti-vaxxers. This is already something that gets discussed a lot more now because of how now there are rugby players who don't want to be vaccinated. How there are players, in EPL who don't want to be vaccinated. And rightfully so. I think there needs to be that understanding that people have a choice. And I think Vishal had said this in our earlier show as well, that it's fine to have that choice, that it shouldn't be pushed down your throat. But the bottom line is that when you're out to play in a tournament, then you've got to follow the rules of the tournament. So if you don't want to be vaccinated, and I'm going to use Vishal's words there where he said, sit at home. Nobody is going to complain. Nobody is asking you to get vaccinated if you're just sitting at home. But if you have to travel, you have to follow the global, guidelines, then you need to make sure that you follow the law, the rules.
So Mia, there's also this two-faced rules, right? Most of the tournaments require judges or even fans to come in with vaccination certificates. They make it mandatory for fans to come to stands only if you are vaccinated. So why shouldn't athletes also be vaccinated? Even if even Djokovic goes to a match and there are ball kids around, he could be transmitting it to them, because you can say the fans are away, but the ball kids are right there. So that's a bit of a, this dichotomy that exists that needs to be kind of looked at.
That's right. I think his action also is, under scrutiny, or will come under scrutiny, because there are so many followers that he has. And whether they will believe in these theories about not getting vaccinated, that's another point. But it's not the first time we've seen him question science. This has happened in the past as well, Vishal. It's just, I don't know, I think it just comes down to Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, who are just up there, not just as sportsmen, but that they've just not put a step wrong. Whereas with Novak Djokovic, there have been instances in the past, even with this COVID, that Adria tour, where he was, while the pandemic was on, they were all playing, they were partying. He had said at that time that he's sorry about it and he didn't realize what he was doing. But he said sorry a lot of times now in his career. And I think he will be judged for that as much as he doesn't want it.
Yes, he will be. And Meha, all of us who are brought up in India, we understand the importance of vaccination. I mean, we've been vaccinated since we were kids. We don't know what's in those vaccines, but we do know that they've helped us lead a healthier life. I mean, we've been vaccinated against polio, against measles, mumps, hepatitis, God knows what all. And at Novak Djokovic is a tennis player. I think he should really stick to focusing on tennis and not try and be an authority over what science has to tell us, or or what doctors are telling us. They're working day and night in their field, trying to help humanity, help mankind in whatever way they can, and to distrust them right now, I think, is a grave injustice to humanity as such. Look at the tremendous pressure our healthcare workers world over have been through because of people's careless attitude. Why do the doctors and nurses and so on and so forth not have families, and they don't want to live with them and lead a happy life with them? So I think for me, guys like Federer, guys like Nadal will always be much higher in the pecking order than a guy like Djokovic, because he has been a repeat offender over and over again. You rightly said, during the first COVID wave, there was this event he did in Serbia, and then there were COVID positive people, and he came out and he apologized. So there's a lot of let me do what I feel like doing, and then maybe I'll later apologize for it and get away with it. And I think it has to stop, because you were right when you said that his followers, maybe the ones who will now become even more hard towards getting vaccinated just because they want to prove a point. So this mixed messaging, this wrong messaging has to stop. This is the third year that we started of this pandemic, and I don't know how much longer the world can really deal with this from a mental health perspective also. So I think we all have to make a collective do our duty collectively to put this away, and Djokovic is definitely failing in that regard.
Well, he took a long 13-hour flight from Australia to Dubai. And let me tell our viewers this, that Flight Radar, the website that you can go to track, flights, planes from one venue, one place to another. That was, at that time, the traffic was absolutely crazy because everybody wanted to just make sure that he lands in Dubai. But that's the kind of following he has. That's the kind of interest this story has generated. And some would say this was not needed. Where is the attention on sport at the moment, on tennis at the moment? No one's talking about, even till today, and no one's talking about the Australian Open. But yes, things are not going to be easy, given that COVID is not going anywhere anytime soon. As much as we want it to, as much as we are hoping and praying that it just one day miraculously disappears, but it's not going anywhere. And one has to follow the guidelines. One has to follow the rules. You have to stick by the rules, because that's how the world survives. Thank you so much, Vishal, for joining us. Amit Kamath as well. That's it on this special. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.